our first video lecture for System Integration and Architecture 1. Okay, so the discussion for this video lecture is based on the handout that I provided the other week. So for this discussion, if you notice, I'll be presenting a table and it includes 4 columns and several rows. Okay, for the first column, itong column na to, these are the names of the phases involved in SDLC. The second column naman are the activities and the tasks that you will be doing per phase. And of course, the third column is yung expected output. The expected output are the documents which will serve as evidence na you have performed the activities in each phase. And the last column is what you call the persons involved or the persons in charge. These are the persons who are responsible to do each task that is stated in the phases for SDLC. Okay? So let's start with the first one. I'd like to apologize for my background. Medyo maingay siya, but I hope you can hear me properly. Okay, the first one is creating team members. So this activity is actually we did this the other week, di ba? We're done with this one. We tried to create your groupings and then its members, and I tried to provide a perspective on what a particular group member should do whenever they are involved in a capstone project development. Okay, so for that one, for this particular task, you should have a team project description. So after creating this one, you are expected to create a team project description. The team project description is a document that includes the names of the members, their roles, and of course, it's also part of the document should state kung ano yung gagawin ni member all throughout the project. Okay? The second one is what you call the creation of the timetable or the Gantt chart. Yung Gantt chart na sinasabi dito, or basically ito yung ginagawa nating basis. Okay? So, Gantt chart or the timetable or the work schedule is the basis on when should a particular task be done and then what will be its duration. Okay? So, ito yung kumbaga basis natin kung ano yung gagawin natin, for example, for the week, for the month, or for the day. So, an example for a Gantt chart is something like this. Okay, I'll present it to you. So, this one is an example of a Gantt chart. If you notice, you have several columns, but then it's noticeable na meron tayong particular task, and the tasks are in chronological order. Okay? So, it means that the first task will be done on a particular day. Like for example, itong example na binigay sa atin ni Google, vision and strategy is to be conducted or be done during April up until to mid-March. Okay? So, ito yung medyo hindi okay pag monthly. So, that's why in IT, yung ginagawa natin is that we schedule or we create Gantt charts by week so that we can provide and also monitor on a weekly basis. Okay? Ayan. So, with the help of Gantt chart, you will be aware whether are you still in the schedule or are you late already for the things that you need to do for the project. Okay? Yan yung purpose ni Gantt chart. It's a good document for guiding and monitoring. Okay? The third one is interview with the clients. So, the interview with the clients with this task and then with this task, usually this is the time that you ask questions, you prepare questions and you ask it to the clients. The questions that you will be providing will help you gather data on the whereabouts of the business, the office, and then usually the process of the business will be discussed during this time. Okay? So, yung clients na sinasabi dito, it could either be someone who knows the office or the business more than anyone else. It could either be the supervisor, the operations manager, or a representative of the company who can really define or talk about the process of the business. Kasi yan yung importanteng kukunin natin. Okay? So at the end of the interview, you are then to create the background of the study, which will then, this document The document for background of the study will likely include kung ano yung meron sa company, ano yung process nila, and then what are the things that the client mentioned during the interview. So the background of the study is really essential because you will get to know the company itself. Okay? The second one, no. Let's have first the persons involved. So for this one, the persons involved or those who are really those who will be present during this phase will be the technical writer, the system analyst, and then the system developer. Sir, bakit hindi involved si CAPS to IC project manager? So hindi ko na nilagay si project manager because automatic na si project manager is involved in every phase. Okay? So hindi ko na siya ilalagay. I hope it's clear with you guys. So nandyan siya but then hindi ko siya ilalagay because siya yung overall in charge of the project. The second one is what you call define requirements. So just like what is mentioned in your handout and just like what I mentioned the other week, define requirements is basically part of planning because by the time that you do the planning or by the time that you conducted the interview, that's the time you can define the requirements of the client. Okay, so that's the time you can document what are the things that they need and then up until to what scope is the project about. Okay, so the activities involved is writing down the requirements specification for the project. So anong ibig sabihin ni requirements specification? This is actually a document. It's actually a document that includes the things needed for the project. It could either be hardware, software, financial, and then other resources involved. And of course, the requirements specification will also indicate kung ano yung problema sa particular process ng company and it's expected na kung ano yung possible solution na pwedeng ibigay ni team. Okay? So the requirements specification is very user-oriented. Anong ibig sabihin ng user-oriented? It would mean na it will be based from the perspective of the user. Okay? So hindi po pwede na like for example after conducting the interview, the team will provide a perspective based on the interview. Hindi po pwede 'yan. Yung ibibigay ni team is the requirements specification sa perspective ni user. They can provide suggestions but basically dapat yung gusto ni client yung ilalagay natin. Okay? Kasi usually naman yung the things that the client want are the things that they need. Okay? So yan yung basic. But don't worry because there is a template provided for requirements specification. Okay? Now let's go to the persons involved. Usually the things or those who are in charge for this task are the technical writer and the system analyst. So, sila yung gagawa ng requirements specification. So, and of course, it will be checked by the project manager. So, after creating the requirements specification, it will then be presented to the client for verification purposes. Okay? Hindi ko na nilagay para ano man yan. It's a common knowledge na after creating a document, it should be checked by the project manager and the client himself. Okay, the third phase is what you call design and prototyping. So this phase includes or the activities involved are identifying the platforms and tools to be used, choosing the right programming language, designing user interfaces, creating methods or functions, and of course, creating UML diagrams. So, for these activities, for example, number 1, you are then to identify what platforms will you be using. For example, will we be using C#? Will we be using a particular compiler, a text compiler? And then what are other platforms that will be used if the project is something like this and like that? Okay? So this stage will involve more research on what particular platform or correct platform should be utilized in order to come up with the project. Okay? The second one is choosing the right programming language. This is actually done with the help of the developer. Okay? So si system analyst, siya yung actually the task should be put into ni system developer, but then it's best na the system analyst will choose with the guidance na lang of the project developer. It's because the system analyst will basically provide the process, and then isa siya sa magde-decide kung yung programming language is correct or not. But then again, based on my experience, usually the one who chooses the programming language is the developer. Ang ginagawa na lang ni system analyst is try to weigh in if it's right or wrong. Okay? Para safe siya. Okay, after all, yung gagamit naman ng programming language is si developer. So, ang ginagawa dito ni analyst is just checking whether this is the right one or not. Okay? The third one is designing user interfaces. Sa designing user interfaces, you will be provided, or there will be a platform that you will use to create these user interfaces. So user interfaces involves icons, menus, windows, ano pa ba, forms that will be used all throughout the project. And of course, hindi siya pwede na you create directly the design. What you will do is that you will do a wireframe, or basically a skeleton or a template. Ano pa ba? So ito yung example ng wireframe. Ayan. So if you notice, for example, this is a wireframe for YouTube. So wala siyang you only have here buttons, and then search field, text field, but then it's represented by low definition graphics, okay? Because it's still a design. Ayan, ito yung tinatawag nating wireframe. Meron tayong tool for this one. This one is an example of a tablet browser mobile app wireframe. Ayan. So kung makikita nyo, wala pa siyang, usually hindi pa siya, wala pang picture or wala pa talagang final design. The wireframe provides the developer and then the analyst the glimpse on what will be the look of the project. But then again, hindi pa siya totally in full blown. Okay? Ayan. Now let's go to the fourth one. You have creating methods and functions, and then the last one is creating UML diagrams. For creating methods and functions, there are already available methods and functions which will then be considered as part of the library during sa programming. So the creation of different methods and functions will help the developer to do the writing process na medyo madali. Okay? Usually din sa creation of methods and functions, this is the time that the analysts will provide a good description kung ano yung mga modules and components involved in the system, so that the developer can plan ahead kung ano yung gagawin niya. Okay? The fifth one is the creation of the UML or class diagrams. Ito yung sinasabi ko na the process that is being or that was discussed during the interview will be converted into diagrams. Okay? This one is an example of a UML diagram. Ayan. Diba? This one is another type of use case diagram, pero iba yung pagkaka-implement niya. This one is a data flow diagram actually. Ayan. Data flow diagram. So marami pang diagrams that will be discussed during your during SIA. Let's just have a glimpse on it. Okay? So don't worry, because meron naman tayong software to do this one. The next phase, which is the software development. So these are the tasks involved: the actual writing of programs, the module integration, the finding and fixing of errors and bugs. Yan. And then, so let's start with the first task. So the actual writing of programs will be easy if there is already an agreed upon design and of course processes during the previous phase. So kung ano yung na-agreed upon during the first phase, the previous phase, will be then translated into programs or source code by the programmer. So by this time, yung gagawin ni programmer is that he will then be creating programs that will become functionality or module by the system. Okay? So this task involves the programming language na na-agreed upon and then the programming tool na gagamitin, which was discussed already in the previous phase. So the expected output for this one is actually a working functionality or module. So it was specified here na dapat working. So it would mean na if it's not working, then the developer will need to do better. Okay? The second one is module integration. So after creating the different modules and functionalities of the system, the programmer will then be tasked together with the system analyst to integrate all of the modules. Kasi nga, just like what we have discussed the other weeks, 'di ba? When we say system, it should be interconnected with each other. So ayan. So module integration is part on this task, on this phase. And of course, the third and the fourth one, the fixing and finding and fixing of errors and bugs will be conducted. So let's define first errors, the difference between errors and bugs. So by definition or generally speaking, pag na-search mo ito sa Google, ito yung lalabas. Si error daw occurs when there is an incorrect input and is temporary in nature. Whereas a bug is an expected flow or imperfection that could be permanent. Now let's go back. So, ang ibig sabihin pala ng error is that it's input based. So pag may maling na input or na click si user, automatically si error dapat or the system or the functions or the modules created by the programmer should be able to catch it or meron siyang ilalabas na error information. Pag bug naman, it means na it's quite permanent because hindi siya nakita during the designing phase. Okay? So, usually, ang ginagawa dito ni developer is that he'll try to fix the bug or create a new approach on it para the bug will not be inconvenient to the one who is using it. Okay? Now, for the evidences for this particular activities. So, a while ago, I mentioned module integration. So, yung evidence niya is integrated system functionalities. So, if the system is working like from one module to another, it would mean that there is already an integrated system functionalities. Okay? Now, for the finding and fixing, you have here, you need to list down all of the errors and bugs or it should be documented. Ayan. So, after documentation, there is also a documentation on how it was being resolved by the persons in charge para there will be a reference or if and ever the same thing will happen along the process. Okay? So a good documentation is a good tool that will help for future reference. Okay? So for example, this particular error, if it's documented already, you can just go and look for that particular list para you will know na okay, we encounter this one, so this is how we do it, or meron tayong list of solution kung ano yung gagawin natin. Okay? The persons involved are the system analyst and developer. Sila yung usual na involved in the working for the codes or for the development because sila yung the analyst is the one who knows the whole process based on the design phase, and of course siya yung mag-check whether the things that the developer is doing is right or wrong. Okay? You have here also the next phase is testing. So if you notice a while ago, sa software development pa lang is gumagawa na tayo ng paraan to address problems na nakita during sa development. So, by testing, you have it here. These are the activities: testing the system, identifying bugs and glitches, and then fixing errors and bugs. So for the testing phase, usually tapos na dapat dito si system, and then yung gagawin na lang ng mga persons involved is to check whether it's really doing its job or not. So part of the evidences are the test plan. The test plan usually is a document prepared even before the testing phase na mangyari. You could either have a comparative testing, a functionality test, and all of ano pa ba? So, system user usability tests, pwede rin yun. There are a lot of tests, and then test plans that can be conducted throughout the testing phase. Okay? So dito natin makikita kung ano yung mga kaya at hindi kayang gawin ni system, and then the developer will try to fix it. Okay? You have here bugs, glitches, and then errors. Ayan. You can list them down, all of them, and then also list down the solutions per bug and error. Ayan na. Please take note of the per bug and error, because again, just like what is mentioned earlier, the list will be a good evidence, a good reference if there are future problems that you will came across. Okay? So yung testing natin phase, the testing phase will only be successful if there is already a working system. Okay? The second phase is what you call deployment. This one is the creation of the package or the installer of the system. You can also have, this one actually is optional. I'll just put a mark on this one na. This one is actually optional. Bakit? Because not all of the installers are uploaded online. Okay? Usually it's deployed in the office or in the business. And then you also have here user training. So since it's already, I'm not saying that the system is already perfect, because the one who will verify that one is the user, but it's already considered na pag nakapunta na sa deployment phase, it's already more than 75% okay. Okay? Now, for the deployment phase, after creating the package or the installer for the system, you are then required to create or to do a user training. So, for the user training, it involves providing a good orientation on what's the system all about, yung na-create natin, and then how to use each module, and then you are also to identify kung sino yung mga key persons na ititrain natin. Okay? So evidences or expected output, you have here system installer. You have the, if it's a mobile app, then it's uploaded in App Store or Google Play. There should be a app or system document overview. This one is needed whenever you upload a particular software over the internet. Okay, especially yung mga mobile apps. And of course, you have the training plan. The training plan, it could be conducted via virtual platforms like Google Meet or MS Teams. Pwede yan. And then, pwede rin yung face-to-face, kasi yan yung pinaka-effective. During the user training, the training plan is already prepared na. The training plan will involve all of the system documentation. Usually, the training plan also, after the training, magbibigay ng document manual si team, para if ever after the training hindi masyadong na-gets ni person or yung mga persons involved or the one who will be using the system, sila they will be guided with a document that is that will help them on how to use the system. Okay? So who are the persons involved? You have it here, technical writer and system developer. Okay? So sa technical writer, usually siya yung nagbibigay or siya yung gumagawa ng mga training plans, and of course yung documentation manual. Lagay ko na lang dito para hindi natin makalimutan. Okay? Ayan. The last one or the last stage is what you call operations and maintenance. So, this one is already a long term, kumbaga, Anong ibig sabihin ng long term? Ibig sabihin, after the development and deployment, there will be persons who will be doing the operations and maintenance. So sila yung magme-maintain with the whether the system is still doing good or not. So if there will be concerns regarding the system, sila yung mga, or this phase will be the in charge. Okay? So during the operations and maintenance, there will be user retraining. So for example, yung na-train natin na user for the deployment is hindi na siya part ng company, so there will be a user retraining. And if there will be bugs and errors, it will be documented using a bug and error report, and it will then be passed to the project manager. So ayan. So if you notice, si project manager na yung involved na dito because siya yung direct contact ni company to the team. So every time na mayroong bug and error report, si project manager na yung i-contact nila, and the project manager will be the one who will assign a particular developer for this particular bug or error. Okay? During sa retraining naman, a retraining plan should be in place already before this happens para, for example, if there is a resignation or kung nag-resign yung person na na-train natin, automatically, hindi na siya, the one who's in charge for the retraining will not find it hard. Okay? So again, the retraining plan is also based or is about the system na na-develop. Okay? So those are the activities and expected outputs for each phase. So I'd like to remind everyone na the activities involved in this particular phase, and then the expected outputs are not specific. These are just general. Ibig sabihin, from time to time, pwede siyang mabago because it will be a team decision man. Okay? So, don't worry with the expected outputs because there will be a proper format or proper document na or template na you can follow. Okay? So again, the activities and the expected outputs are the following but not limited to. Ibig sabihin, pwedeng madagdagan, pwede din itong ma-reduce. Okay? So, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have comments and suggestions, please comment it down below. Thank you.